J. Robert Oppenheimer was an American theoretical physicist whose combination of extraordinary intellect, literary sensibility, and moral ambivalence made him a defining figure of 20th-century science and public life. Born in New York City in 1904 to a prosperous family of German Jewish descent, he displayed early academic promise and an appetite for languages, literature, and the new physics of the quantum era. After undergraduate study at Harvard, graduate work in Cambridge, and a doctoral period in Göttingen, where he absorbed the emerging formalism of quantum mechanics and worked with luminaries of the field, Oppenheimer returned to the United States and established himself as a brilliant, if sometimes enigmatic, teacher and researcher. His early scientific contributions included work on quantum theory, electron-positron theory, and the foundations of quantum mechanics, but he was perhaps best known for the breadth of his intellectual curiosity and his facility with both technical detail and broad conceptual synthesis. In the 1930s, he mentored a generation of American physicists while cultivating interests that ranged from mineralogy and Sanskrit to poetry, forming a distinctive persona that bridged the sciences and the humanities. As the world slid toward global conflict, the arc of his career took a decisive turn. The discovery that nuclear fission could release enormous energy and the fear that Nazi Germany might develop atomic weapons prompted American policymakers to accelerate research. Oppenheimer, who had earlier been politically engaged and whose social circle included individuals with left-leaning sympathies, nevertheless emerged in 1942 as the scientific director of the Manhattan Project's Los Alamos laboratory, charged with converting theoretical insights into an operational weapon. At Los Alamos, he demonstrated managerial as well as intellectual gifts. He recruited and coordinated an extraordinary concentration of talent across disciplines, managed the technical and interpersonal strains of an intense wartime enterprise, and provided the sort of moral and strategic leadership that enabled rapid problem-solving under pressure. The project's success was both technical and human. Teams solved complex issues in materials, explosives, neutron physics, and bomb design, culminating in the Trinity test at Alamogordo, New Mexico, on July 16, 1945. Witnessing the first detonation, Oppenheimer famously recalled a line from the Bhagavad Gita, "I am become death, the destroyer of worlds," a portentous invocation that captured his immediate recognition of the weapon's destructive power and his own conflicted response to the accomplishment. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki weeks later rendered moot many earlier scientific abstractions. Nuclear energy had been weaponized on a scale that reshaped geopolitics and moral imagination. In the post-war era, Oppenheimer became a central public intellectual. He assumed the directorship of the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton and served as chair of the General Advisory Committee to the newly created Atomic Energy Commission, where he advocated for international controls on atomic energy, the careful stewardship of scientific knowledge, and restraint in the development of thermonuclear weapons. He argued that scientists had an ethical responsibility to engage with the political implications of their discoveries and urged policies that balanced national security with the avoidance of an unchecked arms race. Yet his stance, pragmatic, cautious, and sometimes ambivalent, left him vulnerable amid the rising tide of Cold War suspicion. His earlier associations with left-wing circles and a pattern of evasive responses during security interviews were seized upon in an era of McCarthyist zeal. In 1954, a controversial security hearing led by the Atomic Energy Commission revoked his security clearance, in a proceeding that many contemporaries and later historians viewed as a politically charged humiliation. The hearing exposed fissures between scientific freedom and political authority, raising questions about loyalty, dissent, and the role of expertise in a polarized democracy. Although stripped of direct influence in policymaking, Oppenheimer continued to shape intellectual life through his work at Princeton, his lectures, and his writings, which often fused technical exposition with philosophical reflection. He remained a complex public figure, admired for his erudition and leadership, criticized for perceived moral ambivalence or political naivete, and remembered for a personal style that combined exacting standards with an austere charm. His private life bore its own strains, including a marriage to Catherine Kitty Puning and relationships that reflected the tensions of a man who moved easily between disparate cultural worlds. Over time, his reputation has been reassessed and complicated by biographies, archival research, and cultural representations that alternately lionize him as a tragic conscience of modern science or scrutinize his decisions and temperament. Scholars and commentators continued to debate whether he acted out of pragmatic realism, moral hesitation, or a deeper philosophical wrestling with the implications of scientific power. His role in ushering the atomic age forces persistent ethical questions about responsibility for technologies whose consequences outstrip initial intentions. Can scientific discovery be disentangled from the ways states and societies deploy it? And what obligations do scientists bear to foresee and mitigate possible harms? Oppenheimer's life also illuminates the social organization of science, how large-scale collaborative projects are led, how expertise is marshaled under pressure, and how scientific communities interact with political institutions. Honored at times and ostracized at others, he became a symbol of the promise and peril of 20th-century modernity. In the final years of his life, Oppenheimer increasingly adopted a reflective tone, giving lectures that blended physics with history, poetry, and metaphysics, showing how deeply he wrestled with the dual legacy of scientific brilliance and destructive potential. His 1963 reception of the Enrico Fermi Award, granted by President Lyndon Johnson, marked a partial political rehabilitation and acknowledged his indispensable role in transforming the United States into a leader of modern physics. Yet the shadows of the past never fully lifted, and he remained for many a haunting reminder of how quickly national gratitude can turn to suspicion. He spent much of his time at the Institute for Advanced Study cultivating an environment where young scholars could work freely, believing that intellectual openness was essential for the progress of science and for the moral health of democratic societies. His reflections on quantum mechanics, language, and the unity of knowledge revealed a worldview in which scientific discovery and humanistic insight were inseparable. When he died of throat cancer in 1967, colleagues worldwide mourned not only the passing of a major figure in 20th-century physics, but also the loss of a thinker who had embodied the tensions of his age. Today, Oppenheimer stands as a symbol of the ambiguous role of the scientist in modern power structures. Brilliant, yet burdened. Influential, yet vulnerable. Visionary, yet flawed. His life continues to provoke debate about how societies should manage transformative technologies and whether individuals can meaningfully preserve moral clarity within institutions driven by secrecy, competition, and fear. In this sense, Oppenheimer's legacy extends far beyond the Manhattan Project, inviting us to reflect on the enduring question of what it means to create knowledge in a world where the consequences of discovery can shape the fate of humanity.